So we need to go to so here to show the presentation and can you see the slide full screen?
No, teacher, only half screen.
I see. Okay, we should do it one more time, like this. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So we continue speaking about medical jobs working in general practice. So this is unit 2. And so at the beginning of the class, I would like to comment on your homework, the assignment that you've done. And so you remember that the task was to choose from, to complete the sentences and to use one of two grammar tenses. So the present perfect or the past simple tense. And so let us have a look what the students have written in sentence number 3. So the student writes, I studied German at school, but I forgot most of it now. So it's good that the student understands that we need to use the perfect tense, the present perfect tense, because it shows that some result which we have now, that I don't speak German, I don't remember much about German. And but so the student doesn't remember the form of the present perfect tense. It should be have plus the third form. Forget, forgot, forgotten. It should be forgotten. I have forgotten most of it. Well, as for sentence number 6, so it says, are you ready to go? Did you finish your coffee? Well, we can use the past simple tense here. If, for example, we define the time, for example, did you finish your coffee half an hour ago or 5 minutes ago? So it's possible. But this is the focus here in this situation. The focus is on the result. So is your coffee cup empty? Have you finished your coffee? So that is why we should use the present perfect tense. So as for sentence 9, quick, we need to call an ambulance. And the student writes, here was an accident. Well, the same situation, the time of the accident is not mentioned here, is not defined. So if it were like there was an accident, for example, 5 minutes ago, or there was an accident in the street nearby, so we would use the past simple. But here we have, the focus is only on the result. That is why it's better to use there has been an accident. So these are the sentences with the present perfect tense. And if we move to the next slide here, these are the sentences with the past simple, where we should use the past simple tense. Like in sentence 4, the police have arrested 3 people, but later they let them go. Swat just wants to join us. So actually, so here we have the 2 actions that follow one another. The succession of actions. That is why in this situation, we need to use past simple tense. This is like if you are telling a story about the events that happened yesterday. So yesterday I went, I did, I met. So you use only past simple forms. And here, so this, but later they let them go. This form shows that everything was in the past, and there is no, if the result, they are not arrested now. That is why we can't use arrest in the present perfect tense. So it should be the police arrested. So sentence number 7, the student writes, I have applied for a job as a tour guide, but I was not successful. Similar situation. So first I applied, and then after this, I was not successful. So it should be past simple. And sentence 11, the student writes how that happened. Well, it's grammatically wrong because this is the question, and to make up the question, we need to use the auxiliary verb did. So how did that happen? So do you have any questions about the homework?
Everything is clear, teacher.
Okay, no questions, I see. And now, well, I remember that when we were discussing so we were listening to your presentations, so we've listened to 2 of them, and there's a group of students who haven't done the presentation yet. So this is Ramil Bilal Abdelrahman, right?
Right, teacher.
Is Bilal here? Bilal,
No,
how is it?
I will write to him and found it.
Please do. And Suat has joined us, right? Suat. Nadir, Yelfadil, El Naim, Suat. Are you here? Well, so I don't know. Anyway, we need to listen to the students' presentation, even if Bilal is not can't join us. So yes, Suat is here. Yes.
yes.
Okay, because so we can't wait. And so please, one more message. It says host isn't allowing me to unmute. I didn't do anything, just well, so let me have a look. So what? You can unmute. No, just try to re-enter, please. So what? And well, before we start listening to the presenters, I would like to remind you the criteria. We are going to evaluate the presentation with this criteria. So you remember that we were speaking about evaluating the content of the presentation. So how interesting and informative and useful the presentation, the information is. Then that was the way the presentation is given. So are the speakers, are the presenters reading from the slides or speaking? Or then there was a criteria like about visual aids, about the so the visuals that do they help to understand the information better, and there was also criteria about organization of the presentation, how logically the presentation is organized. Yes, Suat is coming. Okay. Suat. Hello. Okay. Anyway, so
Doctor?
yes, now I can hear you. Now let us,
No.
yes, Suat?
To add sent to me, the host is not allowing participate to unmute themselves.
Well, I don't know. So I mean, now I didn't do anything especially for you, your account here. So there is some technical problem. Well, and now let us just invite Ramil and Abdul Rahman. Just you can now share your presentation, share your screen and start.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, Miss, I'll start. The presentation is the patient-centered approach in history taking.
Do you see the full screen?
No,
No, it's only half screen.
Do you see it now?
no.
You don't see anything now.
It's not full screen. No.
Okay. Do you see now or like?
We could see you moving the mouse.
Yes, now it's okay.
Okay. We can start now. Okay.
Okay. Today's doctors are trained to take a more patient-centered approach toward healthcare. That means educating patients about their conditions, encouraging questions and collaboration, discussing how the condition affects the patients emotionally, and involving patients in treatment decisions. That includes respecting the patient's preferences, informing them about the procedure, comforting them physically and supporting them emotionally. It also means the involvement of their friends and family.
Yes. So there we can see the steps of patient-centered approach. So first is the stage of interview. We welcome the patient. We ensure his privacy. We remove the communication barriers and we establish patient comfort. In the second stage, we are asking him about the complaint and set an agenda for the visit. So, which means to indicate available time, obtain list of issues patient wants to discuss, which like topics, and we have to finalize agenda or prioritize items for current encounter or versus future encounter. In the third stage, we open the history of present illness. We ask questions to solve problems. We use active listening, and which includes the silence and nonverbal encouragement. In the fourth stage, we have continued patient-centered history of present illness focus. So we use focused or open-ended questions to obtain the description of physical symptoms and explore how patients describe the symptoms, maybe some emotional context of symptoms. And on the fifth stage, we use the transition to the clinical-centered process. It's like we summarize a conversation, we confirm accuracy of information, we inform the patient the style of question will not change, like I'm going to ask you several specific medical questions about your symptoms. And that usually means 5 steps for the patient-centered approach. So as you can see, there is differences and similarities between two models. BFC model, which was established in 1960s, and the patient-centered care, more new approach in the medicine. So BFC model, both BFC and patient-centered care expands the biomedical model. It tries to understanding of the disease, while BFC model is more like evaluated systematically. The psychological and social aspects incorporates the new dimensions of the disease, and the perception of the disease is altered, the result can be affected. While the patient-centered care explores the experience of the disease from the patient's point of view. It looks at the whole person, and it strengthens, by doing this, it strengthens the doctor-patient relationship. So, as you can see, in this patient-centered care differs from other models and other approaches by asking the patient. It is more like a doctor-patient relationship, and it always values the opinion of a patient rather than doctors only discuss the future of a patient. So also in this presentation, we have presented you study of the from the University of Iowa by a psychologist, where was it? Christian. Yeah, from this university research about the patient-centered approach, its pros and cons.
The new study on the University of Iowa. Many patients prefer this style and respond very well to it, but new research at the university says that it doesn't work for everybody. For some patients, it's significantly less likely to work, and they don't feel satisfied with the care, and the physicians take the patient-centered approach. According to the UI study, the Annals of Behavioral Medicine, patients are more satisfied with care and most likely to follow treatment plans, like taking medication or making diet changes. If they see a doctor whose attitudes toward patient-physician roles are in line with their own. But some patients, most likely the older ones, like doctors with a more traditional doctor-centered or a paternalistic style. For example, someone who spends less time explaining a condition and seeks little patient input when it comes to treatment. The study showed that when these patients are matched with patient-centered doctors who want them to take a high active role, they're less likely to follow treatment recommendations or feel less satisfied with their care.
Mm-hmm. So as you know, all of those methods, approaches has a backfire, has a disadvantage, right? And there is like not least amount of patients where patient-centered approach is going to be a huge disadvantage, said Alan Christensen, and it's a professor of psychology in the UE College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. And he collaborated with his 3 colleagues and make a study about this approach. And he said there are patients who strongly believe it's a physician's job to make decisions. If those people are matched with a physician who wants patients to be more engaged, the physician could end up putting too much responsibility on the patient's shoulders and not giving them enough direction. So they leave the appointment feeling confused about what they're supposed to do or with information overload. So Christensen and his team, they recruited 16 primary care physicians and 146 of their established patients from UE hospitals and clinics. And these patients and doctors took 2 surveys about their behaviors toward patients and their provider's role in healthcare. And within 2 weeks of the doctor's appointment, those patients reported satisfaction with the care and how well they have followed doctor's orders. So Christian said patients who experience a mismatch between their own expectations and preferences for the medical encounter and what actually transcripts during clinical visits are less likely to follow treatment recommendations because expectations weren't met at the appointment. He said, we know from other research that in general, when people's expectations aren't met, the psychological reaction can be tried to restore control by doing your own thing or even doing the opposite of what you're told, he said. So yeah, he said that some patients might do their own if their expectations aren't met by the doctor. Then they conducted another research and similar to studying, but now on a larger scale. In a VA Medical Center in Iowa City and Jess Brown VA in Chicago. They made this research. And in the following study, they will have access to additional ways to measure to attributes such as preparation review reports. And this will be focusing on important clinical outcomes like blood pressure and glucose control in diabetic patients. So this will be an upcoming study actually more. And they believe that researchers could be used in 2 ways. Christians and colleagues are studying whether doctors could be trained to recognize a patient's style and adapt their own style to match it. So there is another idea that affects doctors and patients' attitudes toward healthcare roles and use that information to match caregivers and patients.
Advice from the psychologist. When you see a physician, you're routinely asked a lot of background information already often including patient preferences such as whether you prefer a male or female doctor. Christian said, our research shows that taking this a step further and considering a few straightforward questions about patient preferences or attitudes go a long way toward creating a healthy and mutually satisfying patient-physician relationship. So the findings are already applied to patients. Christensen said it's a good idea for patients to look for doctors who match their style, either by reputation or word of mouth, or by setting up a get acquainted visit and being upfront about the expectations. This is saying that for patients to get what they want, they should set up meetings beforehand to meet up with the doctors. So when they actually get a checkup, they're more satisfied with their visit. And if there's a take-home message for the patient, it's that you shouldn't be shy around finding a doctor with the style you prefer. He said doctors' attitudes and personalities are just as diverse as patients' attitudes and personalities. Finding a good match can be very important in terms of how satisfied you are with the care you receive and ultimately whether or not you stay healthy.
Okay, so in this presentation, we talked about the patient-centric approach, and we described it. We showed you what includes this approach. We showed you the stages of it. We showed you differences and similarities between patient-centered care and other models, and We also showed you a research, a study from the University of Lowell about the advantages and disadvantages of this patient-centered approach. And in the end, it turned out that it's better to find out a doctor which will match all your, it will make you satisfied. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, and now I would like somebody to comment on the presentation, how you like it, and what can you recommend to the speakers? Who would like to say something? Afs?
I think that
Oh, okay, who's speaking?
Noor.
Noor, you're welcome.
Okay, I think it's not boring and it's useful, and I learn a new information, and the PowerPoint is unique and nice.
Okay, can you recommend anything to the speakers?
It's there's good. I think there's no what him talk about it. Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay, I see. I have a couple of questions to the speakers, Ramil and Abdelrahman. So you were comparing two models, like patient-centered approach and so BPS model. What do these letters stand for, BPS?
BPS.
Yes, Ramil.
The biosocial model, miss.
What is? Will you repeat, please?
Biopsychosocial.
Yes, teacher, biosocial model. And it's like a general model positing that biological and psychological and social factors play a significant role in health and disease. It means this type.
I see. And when you were speaking about the research of Dr. What was his name?
Dr. I think Alan Christian, teacher.
Christensen, yeah. And so actually you've mentioned one of the university he did the research. What's the name of the university?
University of Iowa, teacher.
No, it's Iowa. Iowa is the name of the state in the United States of America, and I've been to this university, University of Iowa. It's not Iowa. This is I, not L, and it's located in Iowa City, one of the cities
Taken the road
of this state. Well, you should be more careful with so the details. And you've then when you continue speaking about this research, you pronounced the name of the university in a correct way, but in the heading of the slide, there is a mistake. Well, and as for how I like the presentation and evaluation, so I agree that the information was logically organized and it was useful. Well, you were reading from the slides, but I feel that so you understand what you are reading about most of cases, and so the diagram that you show just help the audience to get the information of a glance, and so and the example that you give, that you tell us about the research is just very interesting, and it helps us to understand So what this method means, well, and how it works, and sometimes it doesn't work, right? And I would recommend just to divide the text, too much text, divide it to smaller parts, to use the key words only, not the full sentences. Well, yes, this is yes, about my recommendation. And I also like that you summarized the information at the end of the presentation, but I think it's better to give some kind of outline at the beginning or on the first slide, for example, just to give the audience idea what you're going to speak about. But overall impression of your presentation is very good, and I could get some new information from this. Well, thank you so much. Well, and yes. Now we go back to our presentation, and well, today we are going to speak yes, about medical jobs, and the first task we should start with, this is the listening task, and you can see here so two people, actually they represent the doctor and the patient. So as you can see, the patient is Mr. Bloomfield. He's 28 years old, and he is a civil servant, and Dr. Dixon is a locum GP. So if we focus on the meaning of these words, civil servant, so the definition is given. This is an employee of the government, like a teacher or doctor, or someone working for example, for city administration. And it's interesting about the locum GP. This is a general practitioner who stands in for another doctor who is temporarily away on holiday or off sick. It means that he doesn't know the people who come to him much. And so he needs to ask more questions than so the general practitioner who works in this area, in this clinic or hospital. So it looks like we need to pause. Yes, to pause our class.